So welcome everybody to this latest video on 162 Maths, and in this video we'll be continuing with the series of going through some GCSE Maths higher big mark questions taken from some past papers. Now as always, if you're wanting to have an attempt at these questions before watching through this video, then all you need to do is just simply click on the link in the description, and I'll also include the mark scheme, as there's more than one way of getting the answer that is shown on this video. Now before we get started working through these questions, let's just have a look at what topics the questions refer to. Now with these questions that we're going to go through in this video, you can see that there isn't much amalgamation of different math topics being joined together. So question 1 is exclusive to trigonometry, question 2 is just mean about from a group data, question 3 is expressions, equations, which go really hand in hand, time, distance, graph with regards to area is on question 4, and question 5 relates to gradients and Pythagoras. So let's get started on question 1. So getting started on question 1, again, if you've not had an opportunity to print off the questions to have an attempt at before watching this video, then all you need to do is just simply pause the video as I read the question, have an attempt at it, then unpause to then watch the rest. So looking at question 1, it says the diagram shows a design of a zip wire. The zip wire will run between two vertical posts A, B and CD, and the question is asking us to work out the distance of AD. So for this, let's first of all highlight what distance we're actually wanting to work out, which is this line here. And we can see we've got a trapezium, and the nice thing about trapezium is that if I cut it horizontally, it turns into a right angle triangle. Now from this we can work out what this distance here is, which is the difference between the two parallel sides. So that's going to be 6.5 minus 2.3, which gives me a length of 4.2. Now this angle here is, because it's a rectangle, that's going to be 90. So this is going to be 95, take away 90, which is 5 degrees. Then if I take that triangle out, then I've got this angle here of a 5. This is a right angle triangle. This distance is 4.2, and this side here is x. So then labelling the triangle using SOHCAHTOA trig, this is going to be h, that's going to be o, and that's going to be theta. So I'm going to be using sine theta equals o over h. So then from this, what I can then do is substitute the numbers in which then I've got sine 5 equals 4.2 over x. And then if I can do a bit of rearranging, I get x equals 4.2 over sine 5. And again, if you're not sure how I've done that, just take the x over to the other side and then take the sine 5 over, and you'll end up with this. And if I type that all into my calculator, I get an answer of 48.1895, and it continues, so I'm just going to say it is 48.1 meters, and that's to 1 decimal place. Now alternative you could have done is you could have worked out what this angle here is. If that's 5, so that's going to be 85, and then the triangle that you're working with is going to be 85. X is going to be this, so that's going to be the 4.2, and x is the hypotenuse. So here what we're going to be doing is we're going to be using cos. So here we've got cos 85 equals, and it's going to be 4.2 over x. So here if I do cos and just type it in, 4.2 divided by cos 85, and I should get the same answer. Yes I do, and so that also gives me 48.1 meters to 1 decimal place. So there's alternate methods you could use, and it's entirely up to you which one you go for. Moving on to question 2, it says here is some information about the number of books read by a group of people in 2014. One of these frequencies is missing. The midpoints are used to work out an estimate of the mean number of books read. The answer is 8.5. Work out the missing frequency. So for this, let's just call the missing frequency x, and let's therefore then work out the fx column. So looking at the fx now, the estimated mean is the total of the fx over the total frequency. So let's first work out the fx value. So it's going to be 16 times 2, which is 32, 7 times x, which is 7x, 20 times 12, which is 240, and 10 times 17, which is 170. So then if I add up all of those values, then what I'm going to end up with is a total frequency value of 7x plus 442. Then if I then work out the total frequencies, so this column here, then I work out that as 16 plus 20 plus 10, so that's going to be 46, so that's going to be x plus 46. So then to work out this formula then, so what I've got is the total fx, which is 7x plus 442, divided by x plus 46, and that equals 8.5. Now I can rewrite 8.5 as 17 over 2. And from that, what I can then do is cross multiply. So this, I've got 17x plus 46 equals 2 lots of 7x plus 442. And then expanding those brackets out, then what I'm going to get is I'm going to get 17x plus 17 times 46, which gives you an answer of 782 equals 14x plus, and that's going to be 884. Then taking the smallest amount of x's from both sides, which is going to be 14, so I'm left with 3x on this side plus 782 equals 884. Then 3x equals 884 minus 782. So 3x is going to equal, and let's just work that out, and we get an answer of 102. So x equals 102 divided by 3, which gives us an answer of 34. Then moving on to question 3, it says here are two function machines A and B. It says both machines have the same input. Work out the range of input values for which the output A is less than the output of B. So let's have a look at this. So if the inputs are going to be the same, and we don't know what they are, so let's just call them both x. Then if we then work out the output of those, so here I've got x, and that's going to be x squared, add 6, so the expression is going to be x squared plus 6. For this one, it's going to be x minus 3 squared, and it says that the output of A is less than the output of B. So what I've got is I've got x squared plus 6, which is the output of A, is less than the output of B, which is x minus 3 squared. And then from here, so then from this, what we then need to do is expand the bracket. So I've got x squared plus 6 is less than x squared minus 6x plus 9. Then what I can then do is I can take the x squareds from both sides, and then take the 9 over to this side, or the 6x over this side, so I end up with 6x plus 6 is less than 9, and then 6x is less than 3, then x is less than 0.5, and there is my value. So moving on to question 4, it says Amina and Ben had a cycle race. Here is Amina's speed time graph from the start of the race. And looking at the information, it says that the distance of the race was 400 meters. Ben cycled 400 meters in 64 seconds. Who won the race? You must show your working out. So let's first of all just try and get this all onto one screen, which is going to prove just a little bit difficult. There we go. So what we need to do is basically look at 64 seconds on Amina's graph, and basically what we're going to look at here is to see if we can work out how far Amina travelled in 64 seconds. Whoever travelled more had won the race. And there we go. So let's have a look at where Amina was at the 64 second stage. So this line here is the 64 second distance, or the distance after 64 seconds. Actually, right, that's a bit better. So the distance after 64 seconds. So what we need to do is we need to work out the area of this graph, because the area of a speed time graph represents distance. So what we're going to do is we're going to split this Amina's graph into 3 shapes, and the 3 shapes, well, the first one is a triangle, the second one is a rectangle, and the third one is a trapezium. So let's just call this A, B and C. Now recognise that distance is speed times time. So then let's have a look at this. So let's first of all just check the units. So again, we're working in meters and seconds, so that's absolutely fine. So looking at the area of A, well, that's a triangle, so it's going to be base times height divided by 2. So from this, what that then going to be is, well, the base of that is 20, the height is 8, and we're going to divide that by 2. So 8 times 20 is 160, divided by 2 is 80 meters. Then looking at area of B, which is a rectangle, so it's just base times height, and that's going to be 30 multiplied by 8, which gives me an answer of 240. Then for the area C, which is a trapezium, so it's going to be A plus B times H divided by 2. So this is A, that's B, this is C. So here A is going to be 5, B is going to be 8, and H is the height, which is going to be 14 seconds. So typing that all in, we get 5 plus 8 times 14 divided by 2. So 8 plus 5 is 13. So it's 13 times 14 divided by 2. We can cancel them down, so that becomes 7. So 13 times 7 gives me an answer of, let me just quickly work that out, and it gives me an answer of 91. So then here I've got my 3 distances that I then need to think of. So the distance Amina has travelled in 64 seconds is 80 plus 240 plus 91. So let's just work that out. So 80 plus 240 plus 91 gives us an answer of 411 meters. So therefore then Amina wins. And then moving on to question 5, it says the diagram shows a line joining O to P. The gradient of the line is 2 and the length of the line is root 2645. Work out the coordinate of P. So let's have a look at this then. So looking at this, so we know that the distance up divided by the distance across has got to equal 2. So here the gradient, looking at the base, well, for it to equal 2, if we don't know what it is, so it'll be, you could say it's going to be 2 and 1, but there's no guarantee, because then that could be 4 and that could be 2. All we know is that the height has got to be twice as big as the base of that triangle. So if we call the base x, then we know that the height of that triangle is going to be 2x. So the gradient there is going to be 2x over x. Then we know that the length of the line OP is the square root of 2645. So then if we use, this is the height, this is the base, and this is the hypotenuse, we can use Pythagoras to work out what x is going to be. So here what we've got is we've got x, I'm on right with a highlighter, so let's get rid of that. And so we've got x squared plus 2x squared equals the square root of 2645 all squared. So then simplifying that, we get x squared plus, and that's going to be 4x squared, and then the square root and the square cancel out, so that's just 2645. So then we end up with 5x squared equals 2645. Then x squared is going to equal 529, and the square root of that gives me x equals 23. So then if we know that x equals 23, then if I just get rid of this, then we know that this distance here is going to be 23, so that's going to be 23. So the x coordinate of P is going to be 23, and the height of this, which is 2x, is going to be 2 times 23, which is 46. And there is my y ordinate, and that completes the question.